Hello everybody and welcome back to G4G Games for Gamers. You know who I am. Today's background music is brought to you by 1 Hour Best Gaming Music Mix 2014. I went ahead and found this particular mix by typing into YouTube hype music, and that is the background soundtrack in honor of today's interesting team up that I'm going to prove to you guys could actually work. And it is starring Hyperion with a particular person that makes tanking possible. I'm going to give you a few moments to think about that. Who shows up on matches and makes people tank even if they're not particularly a tank to begin with, like your Mollys and your Groots and your Wondermans and your Captain America, but who turns people into a tank? Well, let me go ahead and show you guys. It is my favorite setup lady in the business. She's pretty handy. And we'll start off by going with, no, there she is, Phoenix herself. I am going with the white crown version of her because of her death and rebirth passive. So let me go ahead and introduce you to Phoenix if you're not used to using her. She was quite the force back in the old PvP era when her death and rebirth was highly bugged. In the white crown version of her, she will use the Phoenix Force and reapplies death and rebirth when she uses the Phoenix. Death and rebirth, an ally is guaranteed to survive being KO'd and restored to 25% health, and that is when she is allowed to use Phoenix Fire, so on and so forth. So here's how I kitted her out. Her Psy Blast is equipped to create a shield. However, there are definitely other ranged items you can put here, like radiation exposure, but I'm just giving the shield one to make her live a little bit longer, being an infiltrator in the face of some popular scrappers. She's running the ISO that says Psy Blast applies Soulfire, absolutely handy for removing buffs. But you could also maybe do Sting on there. She's not 15, so she will not have combat reflexes, but that is something to consider. And at that point, you can go Sting, and that'll make it a little bit nicer. On her Telekinesis, she has Shield Bursting. This way, if she needs to penetrate a shield to make sure a debuff sticks, like an Invisible Woman group, it's there. We have mindlink. This is the big key. This will set up Hyperion to tank, even though he's not actually a tank. And I'm going to go ahead and lower the music just a tad because it is actually a little too hype. We want it to be background music, but not overpowering. There we go. Alright, so back to the lesson at hand. Let's go ahead and discuss Phoenix a little bit more, and you'll see the rest of her kit, and I will go into Hyperion's kit. So mindlink is applying Epiphany. That is because she applies focus to everybody, even though she only applies the mindlink to one person. So everybody will gain crits, and on her Phoenix Fire, I have increased damage, but you could go with increased chance to crit. That also works. There's a few things. Skipping ahead over to Hype. For me, he is only 13, which means he does not have the final ISO, but bursting could be good for that one too. For Fist of Fusion, I have Pulverize. That is because he can follow up with more melee, so why not? He already is applying pressure points, so putting Pressurized on here might be a little overkill. You could go with Pulpy, you could go with Incapacitation. Atomic Vision, to me, the clear one is Radiation Exposure. For Solar Strike, I have Pressurized to set up for his Hubbled, so he has two moves that do pressure points. For his ISOs, I have, of course, the Elite Empowered ISO. That's a big key for this team up. And I have Big and Fast. You could also run Skull Thumper, because he does attack a lot. You could also run the one that says melee attacks apply slowed. Why? You may say, like, nah, that one sounds a little weak. Why that one? Well, slowed is a pressure point debuff. So that is just something that he can turn around and exploit. And in this era of Nulls and Curse and Quicksilvers and Hulks and everything like that, it's not actually a bad idea to do that. And as for my agent, well, we'll just jump into this challenge mode. Well, not challenge mode, this daily challenge. And you can see what my agent has. The good thing is there's a little bit of play here with the agent gear, but there is some key, and now one of them is even potentially farmable. So because that is a melee attack, you will see Hyperion heals himself for that. And he's also gaining rising up buffs as this happened, and he's healing, and his Elite ISO is going. So at this point, I am going to go ahead and lead with Solar Strike because of the fact that this will give me the extra turns. I'm not going to go for the Bogacious because of their combat reflexes. So here is where I set up Hyperion to tank. And we are now all focused, and we now all have Epiphany. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and Soulfire somebody. So I'm going to hit Null because of the migraine. So here, I'm going to apply this free action Cosmic Shield on Hyperion. This will shield him from damage, and it also gives him Cosmic Energy. Now at this point, you will see the Emerald Prism. You know how much I love this. And you'll also see the Neurotrope, and you'll see one of the newest gold sale items, the Short Control Burst. The reason why I like to have this is great for Phoenix and Hyperion's level 2 as it sets them up as a quick action. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and do the Neurotrope, which helps Hyperion and gives me a counter. And I'm also going to hit him with this. Now the Emerald Prism is being used on him to increase his defense for all of his tanking. When I use it with Molly, I do it more in an offensive way. So as you can see here, Null paid the price for his arrogance and got destroyed. Hyperion's going to heal from that attack. You know, even though he'll bleed, he'll be healing. Same thing here again. Phoenix's shield is helping her live pretty nicely over here. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at his stats now. You can see he's been buffed really, really nicely there on his stats, both from the Emerald Prism's glow and all of his other buffs and the shield. So we're just going to go ahead and slam these guys with the Hubbled, and we crit them out. And this is definitely a PvP worthy team, which is why I'm introducing it to you guys. Would I trust it on defense? No. This is not a defensive team by any stretch, because you honestly cannot predict who Phoenix will use her tanking ability on. So this is strictly an offensive team. It is one I've suggested similarly in the past when I've used Phoenix to set up Age of Ultron Hulk to do the tanking. Now think of how much nicer this will be at 15, where he will be able to gain his Bruiser bonus and she will gain combat reflexes. So once again, we are going to start off with Solar Strike, and we're going to go for the Scrapper. This is going to heal him, and it's also going to buff him, which is pretty nice. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and shield him, because this is a free action, it won't consume anything. We are going to do the Neurotrope. Now the reason why I have the Emerald Prism here, aside from increasing his defense whenever he tanks, I'm also doing it because it says that his buffs will become unremovable. That is a huge key over here, because you don't want him losing all of these buffs that he has gained from his own rising up, from the Neurotrope, the Cosmic Energy, his shield, the Escutcheon. How would you say that? Escutcheon tanks. Yeah, that stuff. And you don't want him losing the buffs that he's gaining from his own abilities. So that's why I do that. Now, because of using that gun, you'll notice that my telekinesis is a quick action. So I can go ahead and attempt to stun the behemoth, which it doesn't take. But now the Relentless Rapier joins in, which is pretty cool. And I'm just going to go ahead and wipe the behemoth out. So there goes Hyperion. He's tanking because of the mindlink. And he's going to heal up. And he's going to gain stacks. And he gave himself Fist of Fusion for free. That's phenomenal, and that's where the Neurotrope is really good. So now I don't have to use this if I don't want to. And the Atomic Vision will be a quick action. The Humbled will be a quick action. So I'm actually going to do that now. And look at that! 10k off an AoE. Phenomenal. So now, because I burnt the quick action over here, he now has all of his buffs except for Blast Bias, which I'm now going to go ahead and give him. We know he's going to follow up with the Scrapper attack because he got that on a counter, and all of these attacks could potentially proc the Relentless Rapier, which is exactly what we want. And why not attack Scotty? It's going to give her a crit bonus, but she's going to take an absolute pounding. And of course the Rapier might have kicked in there, but it didn't. So there's the Cosmic Shielding. We've already used that. We'll use the Emerald Prism. And now at this point I have a couple things I could do. I could either use the Rapier, or I could use something from the gun. We don't want to do an AoE because then I won't gain my tactical bonus. So why not do this? Huge crits. Really, really nice. And then at this point in time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and recharge my way through and see if Hyperion can get the big finish. There goes Terrifying Storm. And because of the Infiltrator bonus, he wins the match on a counter. So, let me take this team over to the simulator, which reasonably resembles PvP. And we'll just go ahead and call that the end of the video. That kind of figures. Let's see what I missed out on here. So actually, this is the ISO that I was talking about. The Viscous Empowered, that is viscous and not vicious, by the way. Viscous Empowered ISO 8, Cleansing, Sympathetic, Vengeful. That's what I have him equipped with. Persisting. Surprisingly, there is not a individual related ISO over here. So, I like bringing this video to you guys. It is a team up that I've been thinking about for a while. I just wanted to level Hyperion and get him into a solid range, because it's not that fun to see a hero at level 9, you know, where you can't really give them a good kit. Unfortunately, not being at 14, I can't equip that last ISO. And, you know, not being 15, he doesn't have the class bonus, but there's so many spiders to work on right now. It's hard to give him his day in the sun there for leveling. So we'll just hit the simulator and we'll call it a video. Now, if you do not have the Jade Prism or the Emerald Prism, by the way, you can farm a even better version of the Emerald Prism called the Jade Prism by doing dailies. The Scroll of Aknazak is also very handy, and where the Scroll of Aknazak is handy is that it affects the entire team. Now, you'll notice Hyperion was not due to go now, but he is, because he was targeted, so he gained a big and fast proc. So we will go ahead and rip open with the tactical bonus. And the Relentless Rapier follows up. That's why I have it equipped. So we're going to go ahead and shield him. And because we know that Phoenix is coming up soon, we're going to go ahead and set us up for the burst. So she'll be able to do multiple actions on her first turn. and we will do the Neurotrope. So we are going to mindlink Hyperion. We are going to quick action attempt to stun the power armor. And the near fatal kicked in because of him using the level 6, so that's nice. And we're just going to Soulfire Send. And a Relentless Rapier proc. Really solid one, too. The good thing about Phoenix is, aside from her setup, is she also brings that Soulfire to the table, which removes buffs. And that level 1 applies Migraine, and she's got a pretty decent chance to stun. So, I mean, she is actually a really good character, plus she has that resurrection right there. So now at this point, I can go ahead and use this as a quick action. And I can use this as a normal action. Now, if we look, I have the Scrappy Sentiment, so I don't need to bother doing this. The last thing that I need for him to have right now is this. Wow, his blaster bonus. And there you have it, guys. There's Team Phoenix and Hyperion. The rebirth of Hype, we'll call that. And, you know, it's interesting. It brings an old PvP goddess back to the table. The resurrection is really good. Not that we think Hyperion is flimsy. He certainly is not. He really builds himself up. And that elite ISO is phenomenal for him. Along with, of course, the Cosmic Shielding and the Emerald Prism. But if somebody does die, which could certainly happen in today's PvP with, you know, primed and ready blasters and everything like that, the Quick Lord teams, you may knock somebody out really early. She's pretty good. There's a lot of tacticians out there, and if she was 15, gaining the combat reflexes as a quick action, aside from counters, but also being stealthy, hitting who you want to hit with the Telekinesis, hitting who you want to hit with the Soulfire, Psy Blast, applying that as a counter, removing buffs, the team works out really well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this team up. Take care, everybody.